Hi there. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me whenever you have a chance to watch this. Today, the subject that has been coming up for me in my own life, but also all around me this week is, and where I tend to pull my ideas and inspiration from this conversation with others, but also witnessing the world that I live in. And this week, what I wanted to talk about with some humor, but also hear the reverence behind it, and even the me imploring you to practice this. So there's been a lot of cranky outrage, high frenetic energy flying. Happens all the time. We're in the solstice, usually a place where there's more light and we start to calm down, but with everything that's going on politically and within our own relationships, this seemed like a good time to ask for all of you to maybe check into your own committee, meaning you have yourself, you have your guides, you have your angels, you have the support of the universe. If you choose to have the support of the universe, you have that. But you also have this amazing human brain that we have. And a lot of the brain and our emotions and everything are formed before we're even 7 years old. And I don't know about you, I didn't have a lot of say in my life in that early. Nor was I that conscious that I was inputting stuff, so I should be aware of what I'm taking up. So I understand when people have reactions to what's going on in the world, what's going on in their own lives, and even what's going on within ourselves, right? You hear it called, they pushed my buttons, flipped my switch, got on my last nerve, I just couldn't take it anymore, lots and lots of phrases, right? But one of my true beliefs is that wiring is in there. I know that from a physiological, from a psychological, all those other logical points. I know that. However, I also believe us to be highly intelligent beings who can decide what they're pulling from and how they're responding if we just put a little bit of effort in. So it may be true that someone says something to you and it pushes a button from earlier in life and you just want to react and you just want to blow at them and stuff. But what I would like to ask all of us that are walking around and presumably adults to call on the adult in charge. So that's going to be the adult that's within you. It's going to be the person who has learned how to manage their emotions on a certain level, and the person who has hopefully learned enough about themselves that they don't want to be the screaming, ranting, holler, drive my point down your throat kind of person. And would much rather be someone in dialogue. So a lot of the times when stuff happens that threatens our sense of safety, we are going to react to however that childhood message was installed. And I would want you to have some sort of comforting mechanism. That this is where sometimes the stubborn New Englander in me can be, would you just flipping hire an adult in charge and put them in there? Most of you are operating in a place where you go to work, right? And you go out to the grocery stores. And most of us end up leaving work, doing our errands, being in community without being a hothead or without being reactionary out loud. That doesn't mean that it's not happening within, or it doesn't mean that it's not happening on social media. What I'm looking for is a conversation with yourself to say, I know how to act responsibly when I'm out. I know how to channel some of that energy in a different direction so that I'm not just shooting off at the lips or the fingertips on social media. I'm asking that we add one more step, that when the impetus or the desire comes up to lose our stuffing in some way, that we check in and see, is that really how the person I am becoming would like to respond? And some of this is coming up because I had somebody go off on me this week for something that I didn't even have any participation in. I wasn't even in the conversation, in the room, part of it. And in my fresh head and mouth, I was about to tell them to step off, lay back up. Has nothing to do with me, and you can just take your craziness elsewhere. But I decided, you know what? That's not who I truly am. That's the reactive child in me who didn't get a say in my household, who probably wanted to speak up earlier than she did. And I recognize that in the moment because I've had plenty of chats with her about zipping her lips when it comes to situations like this. So I took a deep breath, and you can do this at any point. If you're feeling that rise come up about you, you put your tongue very softly to the roof of your mouth, and you take some breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. So different if anybody's done any breath work with me where we typically go in through the nose, out through the mouth. This one, you're going to complete the cycle with your nose. With the tongue pressed up against the roof of your mouth, it sends a nice calming signal to the brain that says, we're okay, we don't need to lose our stuffing, and we can handle this as hopefully the adult in charge. I'll admit I had to take that moment, and I had to really employ the skills that I know I have, and I really had to think about who did I want to be seen as, the reactive self who it really had no bearing on me, and meet this other person's energy, or did I want to be committed to myself and to be allowing of what I believe communication can be. Took my breath, stood my ground, let them know very clearly that I had nothing to do with this, and their perception of me being involved was incredibly false, and that while I appreciate their I can't remember what I said. What I appreciated their enthusiasm around the subject, I wasn't going any further with them. And then I removed myself from the situation by gently closing my office door and walking away. And that skill set takes time to build in, because most of us have witnessed people flying off the handle or being angry and not thinking of ramifications. And I do believe that we've lost some of this in our humanity. I think we've lost some of the feeling of that's not going to, look good on my spiritual record. When I was a kid, I was way more afraid of getting in trouble at school because of the ramifications at home than anything that the teachers would have handed down. And I think that served me, because although I probably wasn't much of a troublemaker, you can probably surmise I was a good talker in class, and I could have been in more trouble. But that little level of container or of management kept me in line. And it served me, because while I certainly had to find my voice, I also appreciated the fact that in some way I learned manners. And one of the things that is important for you to look at, if this is in fact you, it might not be you, but is whether you are still responding to things as a child who felt like they had no say in the world, who felt like they had no control over their environment. And part of the reason I'm bringing this up is all the stuff that's in the news is going to ruffle some of that up. It's going to bring it up. It naturally does. It's energetically around us. It's in our face. And hopefully you're contributing your voice to the cause. And I'm also going to ask that you contribute your voice in a calm, intelligent manner and not just screaming that this isn't fair. Because if you're screaming this isn't fair and you're not employing any kind of action, you are being that 4-year-old child that just got told they couldn't have dessert because they didn't eat any of their dinner. So if you find that you're someone who would like to shift this within yourself, fantastic. First, admitting that you have that trigger point, and not the good kind and massage and all that is important. And acknowledging that can go a long way to tempering the energy and backing you out of that place of, put up your dukes. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful, beautifully sunny day. It's about 30 degrees in my office, but it's very warm outside. So if at any point you're really hot over the summer, come on down to the office and, oh, Lord, it's chilly. So if you can think of a time where you want to go into reaction mode and just give yourself that space and go into a response. Sometimes no response is a brilliant response. Sometimes saying to someone, I need a moment here, I'll get back to you, this time isn't good for me. Whatever is your go-to vernacular, feel free to use that. But occasionally, if you would just take that ID that's in your wallet out and look at the date of birth and see that you are indeed over 4 years old, and then ask of yourself to then act that way, it will close the gap that's within your brain of, yes, I'm being a little fresh here, but I'm so done with adults walking around acting like children. You'll see that it brings a place of empowerment, a sense of self that feels really flipping good. And then when you don't react to others in your life who have maybe taught you this way, the dynamics within relationship can shift too. So I'll be the first to admit, I used to be really sharp. I used to be really quick on my one-liners. I'm still really quick on my one-liners, but the intention of them has shifted because I looked in the mirror and said, who do I want to be? What is the, hang on, shameless plug, beautiful reflection do I want to see in the mirror that is myself? It's not about the other people in my life. There are still people in my life who, when I meet them, they think I'm back in that hurting, sad, incredibly pressured person, and I haven't been there for 10, 15 years. So other people may not shift how they're interacting. Your role is to decide if you want to shift that. Sometimes families and friends and coworkers and social media don't come along with you. Fine. Have the courage. Act as if you have graduated beyond that point of stomping your feet and throwing a fit. We all do it in some context. Being mindful that you don't want to do it any longer is a gift you give yourself. This does not mean that there's not anger. Anger is very appropriate. Rage is not. And honestly, look at some of your postings. Well, maybe not the people who listen to me. I hope not the people who listen to me. But look at some of the postings on social media. You can feel the venom behind them. You can feel the anger there. And that's a case of someone who is shifting to rage rather than being angry. If you're angry, let it out, dispel that energy, and then take action, either to remove yourself from the situation or to help the situation. We have to stop volunteering to be victims. In doing this, it's not that you hand over and you back off of anybody who's in that space, who's trying to push those buttons. That's not it at all. It's that you know yourself so well and you feel so strong within who you are that you pretty much become an immovable force, and someone can tell you who they think they are, who they think you are, and they can tell you how they think you should think, but you're not going to change your mind. And sometimes you just got to walk away from that rather than being in this constant state of turmoil. Sometimes the anger that comes out, like, have you ever stubbed your toe and then completely had a meltdown? Yes, it hurts, but it's mostly because everything has built up beforehand and it didn't have a pressure release valve. So asking for the adult in charge to step forward might feel like you got a couple personalities in there, but we all do anyway, will give you a sense of choice in your own life. It'll give you a place of feeling like you have a say in how you feel and in how you would like to be in the world. So I'm sorry this sounds like more of a soapbox thing, but I really believe that we are capable of such greatness, but we can't get there if we don't transcend beyond children looking to be heard and seen and screaming in order for that to happen. I truly believe that there is a value in us looking at ourselves and seeing and hearing who we are, and then we stop looking for other people to be there as well, or to be there instead. I'm sorry. So this week, have a conversation with that subconscious. Be nice to it. It's doing its job, trying to protect you with all its teenager angst in there and everything. Have a conversation and ask of your adult in charge to show up. Ask that they be present before a meeting. Ask that they be present before a conversation, or before going on a date, or logging on to any of your platforms. Please ask that they be in charge. And start really questioning, am I bringing out my best adult self to the party today? That doesn't mean you're boring. Goodness knows I like to have fun. So that's still about playing. And actually, when you start doing that, you'll feel lighter about the world and you'll feel more hopeful, and you'll tap into what you believe to be the experience here and not just what we're fed through people's fear and media. So I'm asking you to be independent. I'm asking you to think of and for yourself. And I'm also asking you to think of the ramifications of losing your stuffing and not really having anything to back it up with, because the more we act in that way, the less valid we're going to seem. So clear, concise conversations. Takes a little courage, but you guys are good at that. You've got it. And have fun this week. And if you need any help releasing that anger, you know where to find me. Baseball bat and a pillow works really well too. Also those slam balls with the sand in them. Clapping your hands works. Screaming, singing at the top of your lungs. Whatever works to get that energy out. You have an adult in charge in there. I'm sure they're a lovely person. Ask for them to show up. Please. Please. Don't let me be the only one. Please. I'll see you around. Bye.